Hey, listen up. We got another episode of Wise Kracks, featuring the crack man himself, Bill Krackomberger, and our co-host, John Orlando, straight from Las Vegas. Wise Kracks is your ticket inside the world of sports betting, with tips, picks, special guests, and more. Only on WSN.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Wise Kracks, episode 1 of season 3, our first episode of 2021. And of course, I bring with me the crack man himself, Bill Krackomberger. Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year. Good to see you. And good to see all you guys that follow us out there and watch the Wise Kracks pod. And I really appreciate it. Hope we have a good year together here. We're really excited. Some good things coming up this year, including today. You'll see.
I can't believe how fast our first 12 shows together went.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was 12 shows till you just said it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is
cool.
This is lucky show number 13. This is lucky 13.
Yeah, 13 is a lucky number for me. I know it's.
Is it?
Yeah, 13 is. Listen, I know that people say that in my business with models, algorithms, and super sophisticated things, there's not a lucky things, and I'm still that superstitious East Coast, New York, New Jersey guy. So on certain things, and 13 is an unlucky number for people. Well, it's lucky for me. So.
Really? Tell me this.
Yeah.
Do you have on Superstition Highway, do you have like a lucky hat or a lucky jacket or something like that?
No, I don't go that far.
Okay.
No, but no, it was actually more of the opposite. It's more of like people say Friday the 13th, bad luck. And I'm the opposite. Come on. It's a day is a day. It doesn't matter, no, I get a charge out of that. Like the scene in Goodfellas when she had to bring her lucky hat. I can't fly without it. And he's like, a hat? You want me to drive across town to get a hat? We're doing this big drug deal. We got to pack the drugs in your body and in the baby carriage, and you want to go get a hat. So anyway, it's kind of funny though, but yeah.
Lucky $2. Is there a lucky $2 bill in your wallet?
It's funny you say that. Now, not saying it's lucky, and it's John, we could touch a Bible here. You just spontaneously said this, right? So now look, I open up my wallet and there is a dollar bill in this wallet. Now this is going to seem really good. It's real close to me for me to talk about this. I've never talked about it to nobody. I think my wife knows. That's about it. So when my father passed, I was going through his drawers, and in one of the drawers, he had a wallet with his stuff, and that dollar bill was in there. It was in the back of the wallet. Now, he never told me the significance of it or what it meant or anything, but it obviously meant something to him. I looked at the date on the bill. It's about 35 years old. It must have meant something to him, and now it'll be here forever. It means something to me.
I love that. I love that. I'm glad I asked. We've got a lot to cover on the show today. We've got a really exciting show. Obviously, we're going to talk NFL playoffs. We've got a great guest. We've got from the Bears championship 1985 Super Bowl team. We've got Willie Gault joining us a little later in the show. And before we talk football, I just want to talk a little baseball real quick because they released the future odds yesterday. I don't know if you saw this yet. For World Series. And of course, my beloved Dodgers, the defending champs, are at the top of that list at 4-1. And I just wanted to talk about, I know we've mentioned it before because I'm addicted to the future bets, and I know you sort of frown upon them a little bit. And I just wanted to talk strategy with you a little bit and explain to me, why am I crazy to want to bet the Dodgers at 4-1? And then I want to pick like an American League team, like maybe like Oakland, who had a great season last year. They're 16-1. And I kind of want to bet both of them and just see what happens. Why is that? Why do you advise against that?
Well, first I advise on shopping in those numbers, because they may sound a little low to me. And always these public teams like the Dodgers and stuff, the Yankees, they're always going to have an implied odds on it that the bookmakers know people are going to bet them no matter what. So if the Yankees should be 8-1, well, you're not going to get 8-1. You're going to get 6-1. So, or maybe less, because they know people are going to bet them anyway, just to have a team to root for all year. You said the other team you said was Oakland, right? I'm looking at the futures right now.
Yeah,
So the
Oakland's
Oakland A's,
16-1. I think
okay.
Cleveland had a good year last year. They're 18-1. Houston
Yeah,
Astros.
I always say shop your line. The first
Yeah.
line I see, Oakland 20-1. So
Wow.
always shop for a good line there. And now that you're talking about this, someone in my surroundings that's very sharp actually told me the Padres are
Yeah.
really going to be a good team this year, and they're 5-1. It sounds so low, 5-1 for the Padres. There's some maneuvering around. I think a couple pitchers got traded for or signed.
The Padres were
just
strong. They have a great team. They did great last year. The Dodgers swept them in the playoffs when they played them, but that still doesn't mean. And the Padres, they added a lot of good missing pieces with pitching in this offseason. They're definitely a team to watch out for.
Wow, I can't believe they're that low, 4.5 or 5-1. It just seems like I don't remember the Padres doing well in playoff and, of course, World Series situations. I know they had the great Tony Gwynn and stuff, but I just can't remember a Padre team that was that had that kind of heart. I always say that, but anyway, yeah, interesting. So, hey, we're talking baseball already in the winter. All right.
Hey, I mean, pitchers and catchers report next month. We're just a month away, mid-February. We get spring training starts coming around. It's my time of year.
That always signifies warm weather coming from me. So good. Excellent.
When is the last time you went to a live baseball game, either like maybe Yankee Stadium or have you gone lately?
I went to, as a matter of fact, Petco. I love going to San Diego. So, Petco Park was probably the last one 2 seasons ago. And I enjoy doing that. You can go, it's not like a robbery or shakedown like it is in New York. You can go to Petco and go on StubHub and get, literally, I had a first row ticket for $50. Unlike, a first row ticket in Yankee Stadium is going to cost you $500 or $300.
At least.
At minimum, last second. So
and
I enjoy going there.
I'm gathering you are a front row only guy.
I like to be in the front 5 or 6 rows. Yeah, I just like to have a good. Now I'll go in those luxury boxes too. I get tickets all the time for a lot of times for a concert or something. I got free tickets in Vegas for one of the boxes that the casino owns. I always say it's nice. It's a nice way to see it. There's food, there's drink, and they have the seats out front. But you're so far away.
Yeah, you're disconnected from the game, right?
I'd rather just especially a concert. I want to spend a good amount of money, and I want to get in the first couple of rows there for sure. You're right.
Right. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk football. Obviously, we've got playoffs happening. But let's before we talk about this week, let's get into last week. There were some crazy games. The Browns squeaked by the Steelers to get in the playoffs for the first time since 2002, which is crazy.
They were a big favorite too in that game, up to 10. Even went to 10.5 for a while there. But it just shows you that even the backups, because I know Pittsburgh wasn't starting a lot of their big guys, even the backups, they're hungry to make themselves seen and known, not only with the public, with the coaches, the staff, that they want to be known as, we could play up here with these guys. We could play. We could start on another team or whatever it may be. It was maybe another team scouting some trades or something. So, Pittsburgh almost beat them there, and Cleveland was going at it. They had some COVID issues, Cleveland, but they still were going at it full force, and they squeaked by them there in a real tight game. So that was fun to watch, though. It was 24-22, I think was the final.
Yeah. And the buzz of the week certainly came out of the NFC East. You had the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Redskins all fighting to get in, and the Eagles. That was really crazy. I don't know if you watched what went on with the Eagles game playing Washington. Did you see any of that madness?
I didn't watch the game on, I think it was Sunday night. I didn't watch that primetime game, but I certainly did get a phone call at about 3 minutes to go in the halftime. It's one of those phone calls that you pray to get throughout the year. And looking back at it now, I probably didn't listen enough. The phone call was, hey, Washington second half should be a really good bet here. And it should open up about 1.5. This is from one of the sharpest NFL handicappers in the world. And sure enough, it didn't open up to 1.5. It opened up 3. So
wow.
so immediately it was like, oh, well, with 3 is a different line. It shouldn't be that line. It's probably a good bet. But let's look at the under instead. So I actually bet the under because it was going to be a lot of running, getting just to go home, whatever. We really don't want to play get no one hurt, and not only that, they just it seemed like that's the kind of game it was going to be in the second half. So I did bet the under, but looking at it now, I wish I would have bet more. I think they scored 3 points or 6 points. I didn't watch it. I know it was an easy win, but looking at it now, I probably should have bet a lot more. So and listen, not only the betting standpoint, let's look at the Giants to be in the playoff standpoint at 6-10. They were very upset. They were calling out the coach. The media was going crazy. Even the players, even some of the Eagles players were like, "What are we doing here? We're running the ball on 4th and goal instead of being competitive and trying to win this game, this rival game too, with one of their old NFC East rivals." It's just it's not the way the game should have been played. They feel, just to get a 6th round draft choice instead of a 9th round. It was very questionable, and a lot of people want Peterson's head on the stick here.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically a case of management, unofficially throwing a game, right?
Yep, it really is. That's a strong word. They might not like us saying that, but I'll tell you right now, that is just the right blunt word. Is management throwing a game. That's what happened there.
And, it reminded me when I watched that game this past weekend, the first person I thought of was JJ, because he basically had talked about how he doesn't like betting on games towards the end of the season like this, because you don't know who's going to show up and who's trying to win and who's not. And this was exactly like the point he was making, right?
You're absolutely right. This is referring to JJ. That's John Jastrzemski, WFAN superstar in New York radio. JJ's right. This is the kind of game he talked about it, and he said about these type of games and situations. He was spot on. So you're right again there, John.
Well, listen, Crack, I want to take this time to tell everybody watching and listening to remember to go over to WSN.com. I've got to tell you, since you have opened my eyes to WSN.com, I've been stumbling over there, and you are absolutely correct, Crack. The amount of information that is on that website on a daily basis that gets updated is phenomenal. They've got, they tell you where all the great bonuses are, all of the strategy guides, all the info you need to start being a winning sports bettor. And there's a free play NFL Pick'em contest that they run every week where you could win a $200 Amazon gift card. So head on over to WSN.com. I know, Crack, you've got some thoughts on WSN.com as well. Share them with us.
Yeah, for sure, John. Of course. One of the really cool things I like about doing the show, I get to promote a site that I use, for my work. I go there. I go there and read the articles. And I do a couple other things too. It's a gold mine, WSN.com. It's for advantage gamblers, for regular guys that just want to take advantage of promotions. It's got everything: articles, links, best online, the sports books, with the bonus codes, which are all on one site. You can go and look at all these bonuses. And I never seen that until I found WSN.com. So absolutely, make sure you guys go there.
So, Crack, funny story. Last night, our mutual friend, the guy that introduced me to you, Jake Ellenberger, calls me. He had spent the holidays back in Omaha, and he just got back in town. So he was calling to see what our plans were for watching games this weekend. And, of course, your name came up. And he says to me, and this is an exact quote, he said, "My brothers and I have been following Crack's picks from the Crack Wins app, and we are on fire." He said, "Make sure you tell Crack that the Ellenberger brothers did very well last weekend on your picks." He specifically said college basketball, you were on fire. He got the actual number wrong, but I'm going to tell you what his perception is. He said Crack is 90% right on his picks. I guess the true number is, if we're going to be honest to the people listening and watching the show right now, you are at 70% right now for college basketball, but that's not to say that maybe whatever games he picked, you were 90%. The point is the Ellenberger family are users of the Crack Wins app, and you could be too watching this at home. Download the Crack Wins app. It's on Apple, it's on Google, or you can just go to the crackwins.com website and you can sign up today.
Well,
how about that, Crack? That's a true story.
I did not know that Ellenbergers are getting my picks at
and
all.
I got permission, by the way. I got permission to say that from him because I know how you are about that stuff. I said, can I say that on the show?
Because he's a friend. I would tell him just to hit me up. I would have hooked him up.
So I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me tell you. So he actually said to me, he said, Crack offers me the picks. He's such a nice guy. He'll tell me, but he said, but that's how he makes his living. And I don't want to be the guy that's asking him, he's got tons of good friends that could ask him. And I don't want to be that guy. And I'd rather just pay for the picks. That's what Jake.
I would have gave him the 5% friends and family plan. Yeah.
There you go.
No, but, great. And those numbers, I hate using percentages like that because they're unrealistic. Even we are destroying college basketball. I've never had a season like this. About 3 seasons ago, I started out like 35-10 college basketball. And that was like, wow. Well, this season we're at the same kind of a rate. We are hitting ridiculously close to 70%. It's not going to, it has to return to the mean a little bit. No one hits 70%. Nobody. As a matter of fact, no one hits 60%. That's how hard it is to hit these kind of numbers. So, right now I think we have about 70 plays, 60 plays, something like that, 60, 70 plays. We are hitting a ridiculous rate, close to 70%. And our proposition bets, you guys are going to really enjoy that. I'll start texting you guys too. I'll start texting you, John, on some of these props because we're going to release and bet more and more props as the season goes on here into the Super Bowl because now that we have 6 games this weekend, which is unusual, usually they'll have 4 in the wild card. This is like a super ultra wild card weekend. We'll have more props games because the props are usually only on the primetime games or the playoff spots. We have a lot of good games this weekend to have props. So, it's like I said, and plus I'm transparent. The Crack Wins website and my app, I have a weekly recap where I talk about how I did for the week, win or loss. I don't talk about, I don't go into a lot of BS and why we lost this week and, we got so unlucky. Well, that's not me, but I'm going to tell you we lost. And I'm going to tell you now, knock on wood, I don't think I've had a losing week since the middle of September. It's been really, that's sick too. That almost can't happen.
Crack, let me ask you this. I never asked you, it's one thing to be a sports bettor privately. It's one thing to, like me, I bet on the games, but no one knows who I'm picking, whatever. I mean, I might put something on Instagram just for fun to some of my friends, whatever. But do you feel pressure week in and week out? Because you're very public, obviously, about who you're betting on, and people can see your picks on the Crack Wins app. Does that come with a lot of pressure for you when you do have a week that's maybe a down week or even a 500 week? Do you feel pressure every week?
Listen, do I feel pressure? This is going to sound crazy. It's a spontaneous question you just asked me. I did not know what the question was. I root for the games that I release to my Crack Wins guys, and I take it so personal, more than my own pocket, if that means anything. I want to win so bad for the guys that put their faith in me more than I even want to win for my own pocket. And, I'll bet a lot of games every week. I'll bet, because I see certain lines. If I'm in Atlantic City or if I'm in Las Vegas, I'll see those extra half points and maybe even full points on going against the public teams that I'll bet them also. And I don't release them to the public because they can't get them. One thing I stay humble and I want to make sure that I release something that's obtainable by the public. A lot of services, they don't even do that. They'll look at the best line. Let's say they'll pick, any given team. Team A is playing Team B, and they're on Team B. Well, they'll see Team B and scroll across the lines to find out. Oh, look, the win has +7. Well, meanwhile, everyone else has +6 in the major sports books, the offshore books, which all the sports books copy, the Pinnacles and the Chris's of the world. They have 6 on the game. Well, the Win has 7. They're released +7. Well, how can you release +7? Well, the Win in Las Vegas had +7. Well, we're not at the Win in Las Vegas. We don't do that at Crack Wins. We're going to give you an obtainable number, and let me tell you something else. We're going to give you a number that's going to move your way. And what I mean by that is I have customers that tell me, tons of clients that say, I've never been part of anything like this. I'll literally take, -4 on a game, and now it's -5. And I beat the closing number. And let me tell you something. That's one of the keys to beating this game. If you can beat the closing number, the tip-off number, if you look at what you bet compared to the tip-off number when the game tips off, in the end, that alone should get you the money. You have to have, of course, at the end of the season, there's so many trials and there's so many games being played, so it takes you a while sometimes to get the money just doing that. But not only that, you have us behind you, have my team behind you that are involved in handicapping these games and giving these games out. But that being said, one thing I can promise you: win, lose, or draw, good month, bad month, one thing never changes though. The Crack Win members, they're going to be on the right side of that line move. 95, 99% of the time. That's not an exaggeration either. It's an unbelievable long-term value. And not only that, we're going to win. So that's the Crack Wins difference. So a little long plug for myself, which I never normally get into. But hey, if I can't get into it now when I'm hitting 70%, I'm never going to get into it.
I'm with you. And then one other thing I'm going to bring up that you have no clue that I'm going to bring up. We had a meeting, an internal meeting with the producers of the show and us. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And I made a suggestion on something we could do. And your answer, I feel, is really important for the people watching this show and the people that follow, which my question to you is, why don't you give out one pick a week on the show? And your answer to me made so much sense. And your answer was essentially, you got to be on board with you for the long haul. It's not about the small sample, essentially. And so you had brought up a point of like, if you're like, Jon, if I give out one pick a week, I could easily go 5-7 or 7-5 or whatever. And it looks like crap, and then people online are going to annihilate you because they're going to be looking at a small sample size, and it's not a fair representation because you're coming from a point of, you're not a casual bettor. You are coming from a point of, this is what I do. And it's about the body of work, right? It would be like judging a restaurant solely on the bread that they put down at the table, although the bread's important, but, solely putting, judging them on the bread or one appetizer and not the entire meal. And I think that's an important thing. Could you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, when we talked about this off air, I said, I used to write for a magazine, and they wanted me to give picks out in the magazine. Just like our show is taped in advance, the article was written in advance. So I had to write an article on Monday for a Saturday game. And so 5 days later, anything can happen. There's so many variables that can happen between then and then. I could be on the other side of that pick by the time Saturday gets around. But also, there's so much variance in games. Listen, I'm 52-17. So I have like 52 winners, 17 losers. Well, who's to say that in that random sample of 10 weeks, let's say, I didn't have 2 wins and 8 losses of my 17 losses, but you didn't get my 52 wins in there. So I know over the long term, over the long haul, I'm going to have a winning record and make everyone money. But over a short period of time, just like giving you a pick here on a day, but a couple of days before the show comes out, it wouldn't be fair, not only to me, I really don't even care about me. It wouldn't be fair to the viewer and the listener. That wouldn't be fair to them not getting a more precise game, only a few hours before the game started rather than a couple of days. I don't have the grasp on a game. No one does, hardly. That being said, I know early in the week, maybe if an NFL or college football, I will come out with some games early in the week. But not for our viewers and our listeners. It wouldn't be fair to them to I want to give out something special that's going to be on air. So,
Well, Crack, it's that time. We sat down with an NFL legend, former Super Bowl champion by the name of Willie Gault a little earlier today, and here's how it went. All right, Crack, I'm super excited to bring on our guest for this week. It's only fitting that we have him on the show this week because the Bears are back in the playoffs this season. We've got 1985 Super Bowl champion and also former Raider, my new team that I've adopted. We've got Willie Gault with us today, Crack.
Awesome. I'm so pumped up to have you. Don't understand. Like, I love that video, the Super Bowl shuffle. So this is like a big thing for me. All right.
Awesome. Great to be here, guys.
Thank you.
And Willie, I also should mention you're, I don't know what age bracket, but I'm going to go ahead and say you're the fastest man north of 45 years old on the planet. I'm going to crown you that champion. I don't know if I'm right, but I probably am.
Yeah, you would be true with that.
I think I once told you, Brady Anderson always used to call me if I ever mentioned your name, like if I ran into you like in LA out at a restaurant or something, and I'd say, "Oh, I just ran into Willie Gault." He'd always say, "I hate that guy." Why? He's like, "Because he's preventing me from being the fastest at the time, the fastest 45-year-old, and then the fastest 50-year-old." I guess, right. You're too fast for Brady.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Brady's great. Tell myself hello if you see him again.
For sure. So Willie, let's talk some football. So the Bears are back in the playoffs. Do you like what you see this year?
Well, they started off a little rocky, lost 6 in a row, I guess, and then they came on and they had some success. This has been a weird year, guys. I mean, we all know that. So no one knows what to expect. But I'm happy. But again, they have to go to New Orleans to play the Saints, and that's not a good situation. It would be bad for anyone to have to go to New Orleans to play, and they have an uphill battle for sure.
And you were voted, one of the 100 greatest Bears of all time. It's obviously a very iconic franchise, but you are one of the guys that gets to say you actually played with sweetness. You played with Walter Payton. What do you have? Can you share just a fond memory that you might have of playing with him?
I have so many fond memories of Walter. Of course, I knew Walter before I was drafted with the Bears because I had been at a couple of events with him years before that when I was in college. But Walter was just a fun guy. He was a fun, happy guy. He would actually, the thing that we do, he would, guys would go in the shower and he would then put icy hot in their jocks and in their underwear. They come on and put it back on. Of course, they running around trying to, get cool because it's so hot. And then at practice, we'd all be standing around and all of a sudden a firecracker would go off and everyone would jump around and think it's a gunfire and it's Walter shooting firecrackers. So he was just a fun guy. He loved to play jokes. He had a great work ethic. His forearm was probably as hard as rock. I mean, he was really a solid guy, really solid.
Wow, that's cool. Really good stuff. I have a question here. So everyone remembers that Super Bowl shuffle. So cool and cocky back in the day.
Yes.
I heard you guys taped that before the Super Bowl. I know you were one of the leaders that organized that whole thing. Tell our listeners how it all came together, and also why do you think it became and still remains so iconic?
Well, first of all, I went to France and I met a guy who was Dick Myers, who owned a record label. I was with the ICM at the time, and we were there with Prince Albert and a tennis tournament. And so when I got back to Chicago, we sort of met. He wanted me to do a video with Linda Clifford called "The Heat in Me," which I did. And then we went to dinner afterwards. And at his house, we talked about, let's do a video with the Bears. He said, I have this music. And, then we talked about what players would be available. I told him, the players would get. And so I had the dubious duty of trying to convince these guys to do a rap video during the season. Now, we had just started the season. We were in game number 1. Wow. So think about this, guys. We predicted we were going to win the Super Bowl in game number 2 of a 16-game season, and we did it. I mean, not like Joe Namath. Joe Namath predicted they win at the Super Bowl when they're already there. We predicted we go to the Super Bowl in game number 2. We did it. We won. It was great. And, of course, the guys, I helped write and produce the whole thing, and the guys were great. I mean, we actually filmed the video in week number 13 after we lost to Miami, which was really touch and go. I wasn't sure how many guys would show up. A lot of the guys was like, oh, this may be an omen. We shouldn't do it. But then, we all got together. Mike Singletary was a guy who helped me put everybody together and say, look, let's do this to be together as a team. Let's get it done. We did it, and it was great. And the rest is history. It's been a folk song for the last, 30 plus years. We were second behind Michael Jackson's Thriller of the all-time sellingest video at one point in the history. And we got nominated for a Grammy. We lost to the artist known as Prince, of course.
Wow.
We were behind Prince. And I have my gold record and my platinum video on my wall. And it was a great thing. We gave a lot of money to charities, to the homeless people in Chicago, neediest families in Chicago. So it was a great thing.
That is incredible. Oh, wow. Willie, I have a question about that season as well. You guys looked like you had such great chemistry. How much did you hang out like off the field with each other? Like, did you guys like go out to eat during the week and stuff like that? Or
yeah, there were a great chemistry on the team. There was groups though. There were the linemen and McMahon. There were the receivers, and then there was the defensive guy. So, and then at Sundays and during the practice, we all got together. But you had your own clique in your group. But and we were separate, but we were together. And we were just for one common cause. Of course, there was Buddy Ryan, there was Mike Ditka. There was offense, there was a defense. But a lot of people don't know our defense was number one in the league. Our offense was number two in the league. So it wasn't as if we just had a defensive team, but our defense was just so good, they got most of the publicity. But we had a number 2 ranked offense in the entire league. And of course, it started with Walter Payton. And before I got there, of course, they didn't lead the league in rushing, but when I got there, I helped clear the defense. Walter led the league in rushing for 4 or 5 years while I was there.
Wow.
Very cool.
Crack, were you already betting on sports that season, right?
Back then, I was in high school, and yeah, I grew up listen, when you grow up, like I say, you grew up in the Bronx, you grew up in the gambling town and gambling family. My mother, all the Italians, we gambled. Of course, I was betting on sports, but I was a losing bettor back then. I was just the average guy betting the favorites, betting the overs, wasn't taking into consideration the algorithms and the models and the different kind of skill sets I have now. So, but I love that team though. I always say my allegiance is my bankroll. Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to admit something. Big tough guy I am. I'm going to admit this. I was tearing up. I've watched it a couple times, that 30 for 30. I think it was a 30 for 30 on the Bears.
Buddy Ryan, yeah.
I teared up. How can you not? If you're a fan of sports, man, that team, it was so good. It really got to me. So it was great. But
you're okay. I tear up on a lot of things. that and Games of Thrones. So all good. I didn't want to see the queen get killed and carried away by the dragon. So it's no problem. I tear up all the time.
Oh, that's cool. Well, Willie, I have a question for you. The way the game is played now is much different than when you played. So the NFL kind of encourages the pass and has the rules in place to protect the offense and the quarterback. I remember you blown by the defensive backs in the day, and that was like when you were allowed to put your hand. They were allowed to put their hands all over you, and things that you couldn't do today. So don't be modest. How much damage would you have done today in the way the game's played? How much damage would you have done in today's game? Is what
I would love to have been in this situation. First of all, you can't test the quarterback. And you can't test a receiver past, 3, 4 yards, 5 yards. Back in my day, you could test a receiver almost down the field unless the ball was in the air. And you could hit in the head. You can spear, you can go helmet to helmet, all those things. So there was a different game as far as the fear factor, or shall I say the hurt factor. And nowadays they're protecting the players, which they should. It's the right thing to do. But I would love to have been on a throwing team. I was on teams that didn't throw the ball. When I came to the Raiders, we threw the ball. But for the most part, Chicago, I led the team each year with 30 or 40 catches. That was it, because we had a guy named Walter Payton, who was arguably the best running back of all time. So I understood my role, though. It was my role. That's what I did. I cleared out a lot for Walter. I blocked. And I also cleared out for other receivers. But I would love to have been able to play in a season like this, or a league like this, where they throw the ball a lot. I usually get 2 to 3 passes thrown to me per game, maybe 4 if I'm lucky. These guys get 10, 15 passes, 20 passes thrown at them. So you're going to catch a lot of passes. So, it's just no secret. You can't catch passes if you don't get it thrown to you. That's the way it goes. And they drop passes. You're going to drop, as a receiver, you're going to drop passes, just the way it goes. You're going to catch more than you drop, but you're going to drop passes. But they drop more than I caught, basically. You think about the guys who are catching 120 passes, they're probably dropping 30, 40 passes, easy, 50 passes. So, but they get a lot of opportunities. And that's what the game has come to, which I love it.
Willie, you've stayed in great shape, as we've talked about earlier, obviously throughout your entire life. At any point, like when you were 40, 45, even 50, did you ever like get the bug to think like, I could go back out and step out on that field?
Oh yeah, of course you think about that, but then reality sets in too. It's like, okay, yeah, but I think I could run with those guys at some point, and I could be competitive. But also, I mean, the reason I stay in great shape is I take this thing which I never told anyone called E3 Live. It's a great superfood, and it's been great for me, and it helps me, and it's like it has protein and all the vitamins and nutrients and that I need, and it's a great thing. So, but
is it a pill?
No, it comes in pill and liquid form. It's great. It's the world's natural food. It's from the algae, blue green algae that comes in only one place in the world, and it's amazing.
And what is it called again? Because I think I need it, Willie.
It's called E3 Live.
Okay.
And if you say the code word Jules, you'll get a special gift from me.
Okay.
Wow. Cool.
Jules, Jules.
And you just get it online? Can you order it
online? Right, e3live.com. Right,
wow.
Absolutely. It's amazing. Yeah.
Cool.
That's my secret for the last, I'm told you the first, so it's exclusive.
You're breaking news right now on Wise Kracks.
Everyone always asks me, how do you stay looking so long? How do you stay in shape? How do you run? This is it. This is the stuff. So we're coming out with it.
Great.
Well, I should point out that you are the current, correct me if I get any of this wrong, Willie, you are the current world record holder in the 100 meters at 10.72 seconds. And in 2011, you set the world record for the 50 to 54 age group in the 100 and 200 meters. 50 to 54, that's me and Kracks age group.
Exactly.
I think I could drive 100 meters in 12 seconds, Willie.
Right. That's true. That's correct. Those are the correct times. I've actually broken 13 world records in a span of 35 years, which has never been done in track and field, 100 meters and 200 meters.
And how old are you now? Am I allowed to ask that?
I'm older than you.
You look like a kid.
I think age is how you feel. Age is how you feel. I feel I'm 30, so I'll go with that.
I follow you on Instagram, as you know, and I'm always just so in shock that your dedication to getting on that track and the amount of running that you put in, and you'll go out running when it's raining. Sometimes I see you'll post videos and stuff. How do you keep that drive? It's one thing to stay in shape, get in the gym, lift some weights. Running is a whole other commitment though.
Oh, it is. And it's hard, and it's not easy, but it's a mindset. I've been doing it since I was 6 years old. I remember running around this little circle where I was the fastest guy. 6 and 7, 8 year olds couldn't beat me. So it's something that I guess I'm like Forrest Gump. I guess I just like to run. And for me, it's like breathing. I get up in the morning, I want to work out because it sets the tone for the rest of my day. And for me, it gives me an opportunity to stay in shape, stay young thinking mind-wise, and do the things I want to do to be able to achieve. And it's just a mindset. And also, again, I eat right, never smoke, never drink, never do drugs. My E3 Live, my shakes. I have this thing called the Nova Thor bed, which I get in, which is a laser bed. It helps me. It keeps my body, in shape and keeps me from being sore, and also, from the lactic acid, which is a buildup from running. But also, I like to compete. It gives me the opportunity. I can compete until I die. Really, I mean, there's a guy who's 100 years old who has a world record for the 100-year-old 100 meters. I don't think I'll be running when I'm 100, but still, it's goals. It's a goal to be able to do that, and I'm looking forward to it.
And I know off the field you've been very successful as a businessman. How much of that knowledge do you try to pass on to the younger guys? I know you probably still, go to some Raider games, go to some Bears games, and I'm sure the players chat you up. Do you talk about life after football with those guys?
Oh yeah, as much as possible. Football is an amazing game. I was very blessed to play it for 12 years. I played 12 years in the National Football League and 4 years of college and 4 years of high school. I've never missed a game in 12 years. I can say that and be very proud of that because football is a very dangerous and a contact sport. So I was very blessed to be able to do that. And but I think it's a mindset from when I started. I saw problems with people growing up. And I think the one thing that influenced me from a financial standpoint is I saw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar file for bankruptcy. And at the time, Kareem was making $1 million a year, which was huge.
Yeah.
I said, wow, if Kareem could file for bankruptcy, it could happen to anybody. So before I got drafted, I thought about, okay, what am I going to do when my career is over? And then when I was playing, I was always trying to set up things for when my career was over because I knew I wouldn't be able to play football my entire life. And so, you know, it's based off relationships. And because in that day, we didn't make as much money as these guys. These guys make a lot more money. So you had to also think about what you do afterwards or do other things. So I, you know, made my relationships and, you know, I never meet a stranger. I really like people. So I enjoy being around people and going to relationships. And I had a business degree in college. And so I try to use that business degree to be an entrepreneur. And that's what I've done. I've been able to meet great people and to be able to use my talent and my celebrity to be able to do wonderful things in the community. And also from a commodity standpoint, I'm a commodities guy. I like gold and diamonds and oil and those types of things. And, you know, I look for deals. I'm a deal maker and I look to put people together. And that's what I do. And that's what I love doing.
Have you entered into the cryptocurrency world?
Not as much. You know, I'm actually, we're in the process of creating something from a crypto standpoint. But, you know, that's a world that I wish I got into in the beginning. But it's one that I think it's the future. And we're creating a couple of things now as we speak.
That's awesome. Crack, before we let Willie go, I think we got to get some Super Bowl prediction from him, don't you think? Or
sure. Yeah.
How do you see it?
You got a live dog for us? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That's the sound that, you know, you make when you ring the doorbell and you don't want to come in and not invited in. You know,
that's right.
But anyway, you know, look, the thing about it is this: it's hard for me to bet against Kansas City. I mean, they have home field advantage throughout the playoff. They're defending champions. They look amazing. Mahomes is healthy. The entire team is healthy. So my number one pick would be Kansas City. Okay, as far as to the Super Bowl, I can't bet against them. But then you got on the NFC side, you got you know, Green Bay, who has a home field advantage throughout. It's going to be hard to go to Green Bay to beat them in Green Bay. You still have New Orleans, who is, you know, one of the most exciting teams in the league. And you got, you know, of course, up north, you got Seattle. I thought possibly early on that, you know, Brady could pull it off playing at home, which would be interesting to play the Super Bowl at home in Tampa, but not sure if he can make it. I'm not sure they can go. Well, they could possibly go to Green Bay, but I don't think that the rest of the team would be like Brady. Brady's used to the cold, but everybody else. But so my pick would be Kansas City. They're probably going to play Green Bay in the Super Bowl, and I got Kansas City winning again against Green Bay, possibly.
Cool. And that's what I meant when I said live dog. I should have said I meant live underdog. Well, you just gave us some. You just gave us some live underdogs there because I'm looking at some odds here in Las Vegas and on the Las Vegas sites. And yeah, by the way, the Bears are 120 to 1 to win the Super Bowl right now.
121. Wow. Okay.
120 to 1. That seems like a lot for any team in football. That there's only so many teams in the playoffs right now.
Well, I put $1,000, I might get $120,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
They got to win.
Yeah, but that's good to know. But even the Packers and Tampa Bay. I was just talking to John before the show. I mean, Tampa Bay's 10-1 dog. You could bet right now for 10-1 that Tampa Bay wins the Super Bowl. Even if they, you know, kind of get there, you could hedge the bet. So that's a live dog you gave there. So.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting. I don't understand anything about the betting that much, but it's just it's one of those things. I don't even understand football, really. I mean, not that much.
Right.
Because usually the team I think is going to win loses. Sometimes they do. But, you know, it's just one of those things where it's any given Sunday somewhat. It's true. But the teams who are great are great. I mean, Kansas City is a great team. Green Bay is a great team. But any one little thing can go wrong, and then that could be the game.
Absolutely.
Well, Willie, thank you so much for sitting down with us at Wise Kracks today. You know, when I sent you that text yesterday and you know, hey, would you want to be on a podcast tomorrow? And you wrote back, For you, anything, buddy. It just warms my heart. And thank you so much. And Happy New Year to you. And Crack, do you have any last words for Willie?
Happy New Year to you and your family. It takes a special person to come on with a 24-hour notice. Willie, we really appreciate it, man. God bless you and your family.
No problem, buddy. You know, all John needs to do is give me 5 or 10 minutes and I'll be on for him. No problem.
Thank you, man.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate you, buddy.
All right.
All the best for your family, Jay.
All right. Thanks.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
We'll see you. Oh, Crack. That was incredible. You got to love Willie Gault and the Super Bowl shuffle, right?
Oh man, that was so exciting. You understand this guy, this team, like I said to him, I really don't have allegiance to teams, but I enjoy that 85 Bear team. I was a fan back then. You know, I was in high school. I was a fan. So that's awesome, man. Great.
I like it. Outstanding. So speaking of picks, let me just give you my one pick. I'm going to give you one pick for this week's playoffs. I'm going to ride or die. Well, obviously, my prediction is I think the Chiefs are going to win it all. So I'm going to be riding on the Chiefs throughout the playoffs, like probably 80% of the people. But I'm sure this won't come as a surprise to you. I'm going to ride or die with Tom Brady throughout the entire playoffs. I just love the Cinderella story. Playing the Super Bowl in Tampa, first year in Tampa, first year no Belichick. I'm going to ride or die on Tom Brady. Am I crazy?
No, it's funny because I actually looked at Circa, because usually Circa in Las Vegas, they have like the best lines for futures and stuff like that. So I looked there. They were plus 9.5 to 1 on Tampa Bay to win the Super Bowl. But I'll tell you one person who doesn't want Tampa Bay to even they want them eliminated immediately. The bookmakers across the country, because that was the number one bet. It literally the number one liability the sports books have, without a doubt, is Tampa Bay. They took more bets on Tampa Bay to win the Super Bowl, even to win the division, to win the conference. So it's a very interesting thing that the bookmakers will be rooting against them for the season. But I'll tell you, of course, they have they're about the 5th pick right now, odds-wise. But I could see them getting in there, of course, going, whenever you got Brady and Gronk still, I know they're getting older and stuff, but they're on a hungry team. So we'll see what happens here. Speaking of that, John, I don't know if you want to talk about this later, but I talked about it now. So also when we looked at those odds, I was actually surprised to see Kansas City plus 220. What I said was you're probably going to get plus about 170. I said 8 to 5. You're going to get about plus 170 or something like that. So to see that you're actually getting 220 on that's kind of interesting. I jumped on them a little bit. And a couple sports books had plus 4 to 1 when I was back east. FanDuel had 4 to 1 and DraftKings. But that was like week 3 or 4 or something. To still have plus 220, I was pretty surprised. There's a chance for a hedge in there. You could still take something there. I haven't done any of that, but it should be interesting. It should be interesting what happens. And I'm going to give you a rare pick this week.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's just, I talked to one of my guys before this show. I said, I don't give out sides. I haven't given out one side on Crack Wins all year long. And I'm not going to give this out. It's not that strong. I'll bet much more on a college basketball game than I bet, by the way. There was plus 7 on Indianapolis for a hair there. And even now, there's plus 7. I'm looking on my screen here. There's plus 7 minus $1.16. When I see the sharper sports books like Pinnacle, minus 6.5, minus 0.4. Most of the books are 6.5. But I don't know. It's just, yes, Buffalo has been playing good of late, but there was a section of the season there. They came out like on fire at the beginning. And then they had a little bit of a lull. And, the same thing with the Colts. The Colts lost their first game of the year to Jacksonville. I mean, come on. But I don't know. It just seems like for those two teams, I think 7 points is a lot of points. So maybe I'll throw a little, as I call, a little peanut bet on that game, and just to have some fun myself.
I love it. All right.
Yeah.
I'm in. Crack, we've got some questions, some Twitter questions for you. Right. Can you field a couple of Twitter questions from Twitter Nation?
Sure.
All right. We've got @BoardGenius. I feel like he's asked some questions before. I feel like he might be a loyal follower of the show.
Yeah.
@BoardGenius says, who has the most value right now to win the Super Bowl?
Well, listen, some value. I look on here. Boy, I tell you, I might give this out to the crack wins guys too. I mean, the Ravens, and you can see they're circa. There's the Ravens at plus 10.5 to 1. Um, they're like one of the hottest teams coming in, and they're just smoking coming into the playoffs. And you know that it's been said that defenses win Super Bowls, so you're looking at a really good defense there too. So I think there's some value there on the Ravens. I may look into that. And you know, when I say there's some value, you know, if they win the next game, and then of course they win a couple of games here, you can always hedge it too. If you're taking 10.5 to 1, you can always hedge that game. So you know, the Super Bowl I'm referring to. Listen, I don't know. Look, I mean, it's hard when I see the Steelers at 25 to 1. I see them at 25 to plus 25 to 1. You think that there was a bet just a few short weeks ago. Will the Steelers go unbeaten on the season? Get their 25 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. But they were kind of revealed. Let's give a nice word. The last few games, I think they lost 4 in a row. Maybe I don't know. It was 3 in a row. It could have been 4 in a row with the Browns this past week. So I think there's some value there. Again, there could be some hedges here. That I talked about it earlier. Chiefs plus 220. There's some crazy numbers on Washington and the Bears, both 120 to 1. I think Washington probably gets blown away this weekend, but I mean, are they going to lose this weekend? But if they did win this weekend, you can same thing with the Bears. The Bears is even a lower line. They're maybe 9.5 or 10. There's some interesting hedges that you can make. And I'm not a hedge guy. If I bet something, I bet it to bet it. But come playoff time, there's some interesting. Listen, there's a lot of value on a lot of these teams. Look at all these teams here. Even look at a team like the Saints, 7.5 to 1. Bucks, as I said, plus 9.5 to 1. These are good teams. Packers plus 5 to 1. So this is a little more wide open than people think this year. I thought before this show, even I did not look at those futures. Like I said, I thought that KC was going to be a bigger favorite. So they're not. So you might find some value on those other dogs there. I think Baltimore is a good peanut bet there to have some fun with.
And I think that's a good thing to touch on is that word value, because, you know, obviously a lot of people that follow you, they've been betting on sports for a very long time, but there's also a lot of new sports bettors that come on that are watching our show. And that specifically a lot of my friends and followers are kind of new to this whole thing. I've kind of been exposing them. And now because I'm doing the show with you, they're getting a whole crash course on education. When you use the word value, a lot of times I think a lot of the like haters on the internet, if you were to say, oh, there's value betting on someone that, you know, they're 15 to 1, 20 to 1, there's a difference between you saying that I think this team is going to win at 15 to 1 is different than saying there's a lot of value, meaning it doesn't mean you're saying, oh, they're going to win, bet them, they're 15 to 1. That's a great dog. It's really saying like, they have a good chance that there is a path to victory for them, and the value you're going to get by betting on them, it does make sense to take it. And then, like you said, even not being a hedge guy, it opens up opportunities where you could just make some money. Am I correct in that assessment?
Very observant, John. Yes, value is just something maybe you'll throw a bet on rather than you like something bigger. You throw something bigger on, but some value just to take a little shot here. There is some value taking something. Of course, when I want to make a bet, there's a lot of value taking something when I bet on something. So you're right. That distinction is accurate.
Okay, next question and last question comes from John L. Pedestrian. And he says, what are the odds in the NFL scoring? What are the odds in an NFL game scoring 44 points in the first half and then missing the over of 51? Just 7 more points needed in the second half and not hitting the over. Explain that one.
Well, not as, to be honest with you, not as far-fetched as you think, especially if you got to give me a score here. If a score is 37 to 7, you know the defense is going to have, the offense is going to come out, the winning team with 37 points is going to come out and kind of run the ball, work on that clock management and get out of there with that win. Whereas if a game is, 24 to 20, then you may have a little bit more. It matters what the score is too. So then you may have a little more back and forth offense. Now, let me tell you something. It's a little bit of it's not a secret to crack wins, guys. We give out a lot of overs. You could do that now in 2020, 2021, 2019. Last few years, you could do that. So I'll actually bet a lot of these games, and my guys know this. We're winning doing this year, guys. Overs in the first half more than overs in full games. So we're doing that a lot, and that is exactly the reason why. You could have a team that's outscoring another team where it's just all you need 7 or even 13 points. I've had it happen a couple times this year alone. I do give out some full game totals. Sure enough, went over the first half, did not go over the game. So it's not. I actually can't give you the actual odds because I don't know them offhand anyway. But it's not as rare of an occurrence as you would think. So the answer is, if you like a game for the full game, you might want to search around and do the best job you can on getting a first half over also.
All right. Thanks, Crackman. And folks listening and folks watching, you just heard gold nugget after gold nugget from the Crackman. Go to download the CrackWinds app or go to crackwinds.com. There's so much information there, so much value. We've used the word value, so much value you are going to get. UFC fighter Jake Ellenberger gave it the best endorsement ever. The Crack is on fire. Go download that app today. It's on Apple. It's on Google. Get it today. Go to crackwinds.com and check out all of the information there. Bill, another hour has flown by.
Oh, yeah. Another episode. And it's always good to close with the CrackWinds app and the WSN.com because, as I always say, it's a good parlay.
The best parlay. All right, Crack. Well, I look forward to watching the play. Well, tell me you're going to watch the playoff games. Can I get a verbal commitment?
I'm so glad you're saying that.
Yeah.
Do you? I talked about it earlier off air with someone. Do you realize that I'll be watching every play of this Saturday and Sunday's games? I really enjoy playoff games. It's for real. I just wish you guys would invite me to hang out with you guys. You guys are too big for me.
I wish. Come. Let's go.
No, I really enjoy watching the playoff games, and I do watch them. And it's for real. It's like the baseball playoffs. It's for real. Yeah. I love watching those games. So I will be watching this week, and hope to have a big week on props, and maybe even throw a total or two in there. And yeah, great show, great ending, great job, John.
All right, Crack. Well, we will see you next week, and we will see you folks next week on Wise Kracks.